Well, good morning and welcome to your Leadership Challenge show. My name is Frederick Njiri, and on this beautiful Friday morning, we are going to be discussing some of the things that are affecting this country and to place leadership where it's supposed to be, and call to question some of the decisions that are being made by some of our leaders and how they're going to affect the populace in this country. And to help us do this, I've got with me, kama kawaida, Pastor David Wamathu.
Thank you very much.
And I have George Ngaira also with me in the studio today.
Thank you for having me, Fred.
And maybe as we start, today is the day that, Kiptum Kevin, the 24-year-old athlete who died in a road accident, is being buried. It is a very sad thing to, you listen to his family and you almost shed tears, just imagining what they must be going through, David.
Well, thank you very much, Fred. It is indeed a very sad moment, especially to see young people, talented young people, actually losing their lives.
Yeah.
One, in the fact that the way he lost his life again, it was very sad.
Yeah.
And he has left a very young family, the wife and the 2 children. And also the other thing that makes it also very sad, he was the only child for that family.
Yeah.
And therefore it is a very, very painful moment. I have seen the government has actually coming in one way or another to try to settle the family.
Yes.
Which I think is a good thing. But what we are saying is that there are some talents, because I have followed the history of this young boy. Actually, by the time he completed standard 8, he started working his way. At the age of 14, actually he started working his way up in terms of the sports.
Yeah.
And you realize for 10 years,
he's been working on this.
Yes, he has been working on it. And I know he had a very big future. We are only saying God knows what has happened, true. Because for us, really, we don't know what to say. But I'm praying to God that he is going to comfort the family, and also that even the government would be able to do something even to the family, given that today, and we have been celebrating Kevin, so we need also to make sure that the family is not forgotten at such a difficult time. But it is a time as a country. In fact, it is not the country. It is the whole world. I know there are so many people who will be coming today, even for the burial, because this is actually an icon. You know, he is one of the guys actually who broke the record. And he broke the record for Elliot. So he is a young man who has actually worked things in a very difficult way. Even when he doesn't have even the, they didn't have the field. They are actually going even to Eldoret, 30 kilometers. To go and have, you see the power for finishing. You need at least a playground where it is you are able now to put that speed. So he has actually worked things in such a hard way, and therefore I feel and I would request if the government would be able to hold that family. I have seen some of the coach, not this coach who died, the other one from Germany. They have said at least they will be able to take all the children and be able at least to educate them and all that. So if some few people can do that, I think our government can also do something better for this kind of people.
George.
Once again, I also want to pass my very, very sincere condolences to the family of Kiptum, a very young man, 24 years of age, as you mentioned, who's only competed since he was 18 professionally. And he was just at the peak of his career, because the London Marathon, the Chicago Marathon are actually the elite of those races, because once you win London Marathon, then you're a mainstream athlete. And for him, it's a career that was just beginning to take off. But sadly, we are where we are, and he's gone. So we hope the family can find strength in how to deal with the reality of a long lost opportunity that was just beginning to shine, and hope that they can go through it.
Right. We as EBN, we also give our condolences We definitely pray that the Lord is going to take care of the family, comfort them. And let's hope during the barrier today, I mean, we're not going to have the crazy political statements that we normally have during most of these barriers.
Correct, that is true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, a lot of things happening in this country. Just when last week we celebrated the fact that, you know, the Kenya shilling was starting to do well. We were gaining against the dollar, and things might actually start changing. And then a hammer is just dropped. And I'm looking at some of the taxes that are proposed for the next financial year. And I pray that Parliament can stop some of these things. This doesn't look rosy, does it?
Well, I can tell you it doesn't at all, at all. In fact, we are actually experiencing such a hard time as Kenyans. And as we were talking there earlier,
yes.
you know, like what is happening with the banks, it is actually killing the businesses for Kenyans.
True.
And therefore,
and now there's a proposal to have the amount that you need.
The 1
initially
billion,
it was
500 billion.
Yes.
Now
it's gone to a
1
billion.
trillion. Yes. So it is actually a very, very difficult time in the sense that the government, it wants to raise money, but it is looking for every other way to raise the monies, which is not good. Because you see, the government has actually talked about creating jobs.
Yes.
How do you create jobs when actually you are making other companies to close? This is actually, you are creating jobs in some areas and you are losing jobs in some other areas. I was telling you that there are some facilities which like almost every Kenyan has a small one, whichever way.
True.
Like now me, I have a facility. That facility, right now, I can tell you it has increased. The interest alone, it has increased by 30,000. So
the interest alone?
Yeah. It has gone up to 30,000. So apart from what I was paying, I have to look for
30,000 extra.
Yes, 30,000. And with what they are actually talking about right now,
it's going to go higher.
I am actually telling you what is going to happen is that we are going to see the payment, not only payment, going up by 50,000, which is quite high.
Yes.
And that's why you are finding that I was telling you I am in a group. This group is actually it's one of the company in Kenya, whereby you find, even in the media, you find people advertising that you can get a loan on logbook.
Yes.
For like
I've seen an increase in advertisement on TV for those.
Yes. You know now what is happening? People actually were being told you can get the loan within 24 hours.
Yes.
And it was true. People could get money.
Yes.
But you know what is happening? Is that their property is actually in the auctioneer's yard right now. Very many people. I have seen it in the WhatsApp.
Yes.
You find that the logbooks, like allowed 200 vehicles, they are actually in the yards. And why are they there in the yards? Is because the people are unable to pay. Because interest are actually not fixed. They keep on increasing every other time. So whatever amount that you thought you would be able to pay, right now it is higher than what you are supposed to pay. And this is where we are saying the government need actually to listen to the people down here. I think they have not realized the kind of the struggle that people are in, such that every other day they wake up and they say something new is going to be done. You have seen exactly, even in terms of the banks, there are some few other things that they want, the withholding and all those kind of taxes and all those things.
There's withholding when you supply government services. There's withholding now when you sell your produce to cooperatives.
Correct. Now
agricultural produce to cooperatives.
Do you know now that what it means? It means that the amount of money that you are going to get is actually way less. And you find that all the operational cost, the costs, if you add up the cost, they are so
just
high.
Going up.
There are several contracts, even people are losing. I told you last year, there is a contract I said I won't do.
Yes.
In fact, those people, for a whole term, they have been unable to get even anybody to provide them with services. So you find these are the situations that we are getting to. And when the government keep on raising these taxes, I don't know whether there is that participation, whether they come to us and they ask us, what is the impact of what we are doing? I saw yesterday, they are reading the budget statement for 2024, 2025.
Yeah.
The budget statement, they are saying right now, we are going to 4.2 trillion. So
yet we were unable to deal with the 3 trillion.
3.6. So actually that is another 0.6.
Yes.
So what we are asking is, when the government is doing this, and it has so many shortfalls, because they cannot actually get money from people. You know, there are times you try to get money from people, you kill them, 100%. You kill businesses, 100%. So they need to balance all these things. If they don't do that, what they are doing is that there is going to be top rich and bottom poor.
And that's a powder keg for disaster.
Very much. You know, Fred, that's what you get when you have a government that is completely insensitive to the reality of the lives of the people of Kenya, particularly the people of Kenya. And, you know, just to top up on what Pastor David has said, so the government expects, the budget policy statement has a projection of about 4.2 trillion shillings. KRA is supposed to collect about 2.9 trillion. The target for this coming financial year is 2.9 trillion, I think. That means there's a deficit of about 1.3 trillion that must be raised from alternative sources, which essentially means borrowing. So we have a government that is very ambitious with big plans, but it doesn't have sufficient alternative mediums of how to raise revenue. And now they're opting onto taxing the very limited pockets that the Kenyans have at this particular time. And, you know, there is nothing wrong with taxation, as I've always said. And I've always said that it's the duty of every Kenyan to actually pay taxes. We just have to have a framework that is at least fair and friendly, so that then it can even motivate those who want to pay taxes to pay so willingly. And so for the Kenyans that, particularly those ones who are in the real tax bracket that KRA has in the system, they say about 3 million or so Kenyans that, and probably with, because people get hired every day, so obviously there's a bunch of people getting into the pay-as-you-want system. But anyway, around 3 trillion, some thereabout, who are paying taxes, are already struggling with the excessive taxation that they are getting on their wages. And for this government to even want to go ahead and
introduce more taxes,
it is pushing us to the edge. And I think Kenyans need to be vigilant enough, because these decisions are not written on a wall. They can be changed by the people. And both the Constitution and also both the Constitution and other acts of Parliament do actually give Kenyans an option on how to challenge such decisions, because they pay this government, and so they are the bosses of this government.
The fact that, I mean, we are looking at a time the counties are complaining because they've not been given their money.
Correct.
The people, the ordinary mwananchi is complaining. The loan facilities people have taken have skyrocketed by, you know, unbelievable percentages.
Correct.
And we are going to see an increase in it. Yet, when the executive stands and speaks, they are saying how well they are doing. So, it's a strange side of the coin.
Let me tell you, and that is the worst thing that happens when the government doesn't listen to its people. I can tell you, for them, they are looking at these small things they are doing. Like they have started a road on this side, they have started something from that side. But let me say that you cannot rule people who are hungry. That is the bottom line. The thing is, there are so many things that people are struggling with. And I always say, when you are in a situations like what we have in Kenya, you would rather reduce in terms of the development.
Yes.
These are the mega development. But you do few things. And you know, these are the things which were there in 1963.
Yes.
And even when we took power from the colonials, we were actually dealing with 3 things. You remember that?
Yes.
One, it was
poverty.
Poverty.
Yes.
So you need to deal with poverty in terms of raising me. And you know, it is quite sad that this government started talking about hustler movement and all those kind of things. But you see the people who are actually down there on the ladder, are actually in a position whereby right now quite a number cannot be able to put a meal on the table. You find that for you to access 3 meals, you must be a very rich person today. If Fred, you are actually able to comfortably, and we are not just saying that the meal whereby you are just taking tulugi and something like that.
A proper meal.
Yes, we are talking about a proper meal. When we are talking at 3 meals, we are talking about a proper meal and a balanced diet.
Yes.
I can tell you there are so many Kenyans who are only eating to fill the stomach, which is a very bad thing that the government really needs to relook at this thing and ask themselves a question. Why is it that you are doing all these things that you are doing? Because look at it. I can tell you, the government has money to spend, but it doesn't have money to spend on the Kenyan people. Why is it that I'm saying that?
Yes.
Right now, what is happening is that we want, and it is a good thing for Kenyan, and I'm not saying it's a bad thing, but I want just to point one scenario whereby if the government really want to spend on its people, it can spend.
Yes.
Right now, what is happening in Kenya is that some committees are going to be formed who are going to shuttle from one country to another country, who popularizing the bid for the former Prime Minister, Raila Amolo Odinga, which is a good thing. We are saying for him, in fact, we are praying that he gets this job.
Yes.
But what we are saying, how many billions is the government going to spend on this course?
And I've not had the opposition raise concerns over the amounts of money that are going to be spent doing this. So the opposition is just opposing.
My friend, those are assumptions. There's no budget, there's nowhere in the budget expenditure where they're saying there's some billions allocated on Raila Odinga's candidature.
But where is that money going to come from?
It's an assumption. I can even say, you know, one day, the member of parliament for Embakasi East, Babu Wino, is an old friend of mine. When he was a student leader in Parklands, he to sort of intimidate his opponents, he went and did a budget of 15 million shillings on a paper and posted on Facebook. And then luckily some of the media outlets picked it up. And now they were saying, Babu Wino's 15 million budget to run. And most of his opponents were students who hardly had even 5,000 shillings in their pocket. That alone was enough to scare off the competitors.
Are you trying to say that, you know, these committees that are being formed to do shuttle diplomacy are not going to spend money?
Fred, listen. It is indeed true that the protocol is that governments propose candidates.
Yes.
Into the African Union. It's a way of creating an organized structure so that leaders for the African Union are truly leaders from the African states. But you must know that all the 54 countries are free and open to submit their candidates. That's why there are actually fears that Tanzania are going to also second Jakaya Kikwete, because they have a right as a state to propose a candidate. And all these people, for you to win this particular position, you don't just need one vote. You don't need the Kenyan vote. You need 54 votes. So somebody has to go around the continent and actually campaign for this particular position. While it might seem like the candidate originates from the government, but it's actually the individual's candidate proposition that he actually campaigns himself to take that position. It's only that as a matter of patriotism, then you embrace him as a candidate and you say that is a Kenyan candidate. And the state might support in that, but there is no official backing to say that the government must spend a certain amount of money to campaign for this candidate. That's one. Two, when you look at the history of Raila Odinga and the network that he has across those countries, he largely doesn't need to spend much to really be able to mobilize that numbers. When you look at the kind of presidents that he himself, he's been able to network over the years. Ramaphosa himself is a billionaire. You know, the president of South Africa. He's really a billionaire off the fact that he's a president. He has personal resources to actually champion, his campaign.
Raila Odinga.
Yeah, he's a long-term friend. You remember I mentioned here the other time that in 2007, when we needed an arbiter for the fallout between President Kibaki, you know, the first person they sent was actually Ramaphosa. And the government then said, no way, because this is a personal friend of this guy. That Ramaphosa today is president, you know, so he has allies across the continent, and also at a personal level is somebody of means. You saw that it's actually President Olusegun Obasanjo, who came into the country to take off his candidature. That should tell you that the other interested party in that race is not, he didn't just wake up on his own and say, I want to be. I think from where they sit, they feel like he's in a very advantageous position to be able to assume that role. And probably as long-term allies, you know, a guy like President Obasanjo has been a long-time supporter of Raila Odinga. And I truly believe one of the people, even financially, that have been supporting him on his candidature. It's unfortunate that the dream hasn't come to realization. And probably out of good faith, they would want to support him for that. So he really doesn't need that kind of endorsement that they need. Probably the president and the government might really want to see Raila Odinga out of the sight, so that for their own political reasons. But there is nowhere where there's a budget provision that the government is going to spend billions.
Well, I can tell you, if you can remember, the Auditor General did mention a lot of money being spent without having
from consolidated fund, actually, which is not budgeted. Can I tell you? And we will actually be coming here on every Friday. I can tell you that assumption that George is talking about, he will see it in the reality. Because I can tell you, right now, in fact, I listened to the opposition. Do you know what the oppositions are saying? Is that this committee, you must include the opposition in terms of the team that will be going for shattering. Actually, it was in the news. It was in the news.
It's something that happened.
Let me tell you, you cannot tell me that Kalonzo is going to get back into his pocket and the people who are going to be put in that committee to spend their own money.
To go and do shadow, it won't happen.
They would. That's why I'm saying, at the end of the day, she will be here. You will see the kind of monies that is going to go to that.
Fred, the position of the, listen, Pastor David, the position of the African Union chair is an executive role with an annual budget of $600 billion. That's almost 6 trillion upwards. There's a huge budget in which where countries also, not just Kenya, but other, you know, the regional economic blocs have interest in them. So the interest of Raila's candidature in that particular position has almost nothing to do with Kenya, even though Kenya is a beneficiary of any decision that is positive that comes from the African Union. So you might think that this president might be spending.
Are you trying to dissuade us from the fact that the government is not going to spend? Because what we are talking about, Kenyans are right now tight in their pockets.
You are talking about the government.
Yes, there's money that is going to be spent to do all this shuttle diplomacy. And it's not 100 million.
Are you alluding that Gachagua is going to spend billions to make Raila Odinga?
Can I tell you, in fact, it is to their interest. And it is good you have said. It is to their interest. Do you know, by the way, there is a mixed reaction between what is happening in the AU. Some of the people, actually, even in the opposition, do you know this is one man they are praying for? That get to be the chair for AU. Because
even within the opposition.
Even within the opposition. You know why? Because they have been saying, as long as Raila is here,
we cannot
actually ascend to presidency. Because if Raila says 2027, I am running for presidency, I can tell you the ambition until 2032.
It is in the interest that they go.
Yeah, it is in their interest they go. Then I can tell you. The government is calculating, and it is saying, if this man, we are able to take him there for 4 years,
no more man.
Then I can tell you, we are here only left with Kalonzo to deal with. And right now, I was telling you about the Ford Asili. The Ford. There is a Ford. You remember this man, Shikuku. We actually were told he went to take Ugali with Moi in the State House. But and the moment he went to Ugali to take Ugali, after that, you know what happened? Is the Ford actually broke. It exploded. And that is where now we are saying, at the end of the day, anyway, what is happening, people actually are wishing good for Raila. But there are so many people
the motives of wishing Raila Odinga good in the African Union chairmanship position don't necessarily come from the fact that they believe he's the best candidate for it. And mostly so when it comes to Kenya. Well, from the government perspective, is good riddance. Get this guy out of the country.
Yes.
Stop maandamano. From the opposition is, again, good riddance. Let him go there.
Yes.
And then now, already they are jostling
Yes.
for who is going to become
Correct.
the leader of the official
That is
opposition in
true.
parliament.
Yes. Actually, those are the things which we are saying. They are driving some of me. Actually, for me, and I would say 100%, Raila actually deserves something better.
Yes.
Because he has actually worked for this country. Give it to him. Some of the things, the changes that we are fighting, and he has always been a whistleblower
Yes.
in some of the things which would have affected Kenya in a very big way. At his age, right now, I would say he needs something decent.
Yes.
And this AU position is something decent. Apart from money, Raila is not looking for money.
No, he's not.
As George is saying, he has a lot of money.
He has a deep pocket.
Yeah, but it also adds something in terms of his position, in terms of being able, statures and all that, being able to sit with all the presidents. But again, it also brings good money. Do you know what is the pack for being the AU chair?
Yeah.
It is 2.4.
Yes.
And apart from that,
Yeah,
even
other
your wife,
emoluments.
Yes.
even your wife will be paid. So it is actually something which is beautiful, which is good. But I can tell you,
Actually, the total benefits, basic salary is what Pastor David
yes,
2.4 million, but
yes.
then you have the housing, transport, and
all that, yeah.
and all of them are in dollars.
Yes.
And every day the Kenyan shilling struggles with the dollars. His salary goes up. We can pay you $20,000, which is about 3 million shillings.
Yes.
But tomorrow the shilling goes to 162.
Yes.
So that salary can go higher. You
Yes,
understand?
yes.
Actually, the total amount is close to 7 million shillings. So it's likely to earn almost $100,000 because just like it happens in Kenya and Pastor David is a finance guy. He knows that you can have a basic salary of 100,000 shillings in government, then do an international trip on government duty in the US and still come back with that 100,000 shillings, which mirrors your basic salary.
Yeah.
So that person has already earned double his salary just
Yes.
by virtue of a per diem somewhere. So when you look at the emoluments that come with that position, including a private jet,
Yes.
so
he'll operate a private jet.
the chair of the African Union operates is a
big man.
jet. Yes. He attends the G7 summit and the G20 summits over there.
He
The
will
global
not
gov-
come back to Locopoly.
no.
That would happen.
It's actually a farewell for him.
He can't.
It's a farewell for him.
Yes.
He can't, and that's why I can tell you, even the people who have not been going to church,
Yes.
right now,
They are
in
praying.
church. they are in church, actually, praying for Raila to go. Because I can tell you, the government is actually, in fact, if they are told
Yes.
that Raila has not won,
There are
many
people
of
who
them,
will be
it would be very sad for this
depression.
country. It would be sad for the government, and it would be sad for opposition.
You know, I saw the former president Uhuru Kenyatta in TZ in Tanzania
yes.
talking to Suluhu
Yes.
to try and see. I think they're trying to see whether TZ can be able to leave this for Raila Odinga and probably next time say we'll back your guy.
Kikwete.
Yes. So the interest of having Raila out there, basically, so many people are interested in the same. And if you see what we are talking about, now you juxtapose that, you have the ordinary mwananchi here suffering, pockets now becoming emptier, yet here, the politicians have ganged up because of their own interest.
Correct.
It goes to show us that caste is the man who trusts in men. If we continue trusting in our politicians to make our lives better,
Yes.
we are not going to end up anywhere, are we?
No, we can't. By the way, that's why the Bible is so clear. We would rather trust in God.
Yes.
Man is good, but I can tell you they can disappoint you anytime because they swing whichever way. And that's why I actually told you another time,
Yes.
I cannot go and fight. You
Yes.
see, like the people even the way they
Yes,
go and throw
yes.
away stones
Yes.
for politicians.
Yes.
You would rather actually create relationship with the people that you live with. Do you know? Actually, the people who help you is not even the government, and not even the politicians.
Yes.
It is actually the people that you are
Within
living
the
with.
neighborhood.
If, for
or your
example, I
family.
have a problem today with fare,
Yes.
do you know the next person I will go to is George?
Yes.
I will tell him, George,
Yeah.
Things are not.
nataka kufika tao,
Yeah.
sina bao.
Yeah.
And he goes to his pocket and he gives me the 20 and he tells me, jisaidie na hii. But I can tell you, there is one politician, I won't mention his name.
Yes.
This guy, we used to work with him. Then he rose to become a politician.
Yes.
And actually he became a big man. He was actually a chief whip at one particular time in the government.
Yes.
I tell you, the time he became the chief whip, he had an office somewhere. The office had 2 doors.
It had 2 doors.
Yes.
One to escape.
Yes, it had 2 doors. One there and another door here. And you know, people would actually come and sit and wait there outside because they saw somebody told them the guy is in.
Yes.
But the moment he will actually disappear, and they did not know about the second door.
Yes.
So they will actually keep waiting there for their muheshimiwa.
Yes.
But that guy came and went long time ago. And they used to go home frustrated all the time. But it is a man, the time he was campaigning, man, I tell you, people were actually saying, this is the man
The
who will
answer
change.
to our problems.
Yeah, the answer to our problem. And that's why we are saying, we better actually be Kenyans, be united.
As a people.
As a people.
Yes.
Wherever we are. Because our solution is not with these guys. It is actually with us working together. The people we are doing business with, it's not the MPs.
Yes.
It is actually us. Because, for example, George is actually doing a certain business.
Yes.
I'm doing a certain business. We bring our synergies together
Yes.
and we grow ourselves.
Yes.
And I think that is the way to grow ourselves as Kenyan people. Let us stop depending on handouts. These handouts will not take us anywhere.
Yes.
We would rather come as a team and we see what is it that we can do. Because all what we are looking for, by the way,
Yes.
it is a neighboring environment.
Yes.
Which can be able to help us to do a bit of business. That's why
And that's what the government is supposed to provide.
That is what it's supposed to
Create
provide.
an enabling environment for me to thrive in everything that I'm doing.
Correct.
And,
Yes.
And Fred, I think that's the price that we pay for particularly the Kenyan voters and the citizens of the Republic of any state, not just the Kenyan state, is that when they over-delegate the mandate of oversighting government and forget that it's their primary duty to ensure that the leaders that they voted in are accountable. PS Belio Kipsang just paid 11.8 billion shillings to schools manually. Literally, I can imagine these are stocks of money being dished in handouts. You can imagine 11 billion shillings.
Yes.
That is a decision that could cost someone's job in countries where people are held into account.
Yes.
But the auditor of the Auditor General, Nasi Gathungu, openly in an official report has indicated that X amount of money in billions of shillings of taxpayers' money was spent by PS Belio Kipsang, who is the accounting officer for the PS, the Ministry of Education, that he paid out to schools in terms of capitation to primary schools in cash. That means of saying that one give him 11 million, that one give him, and just capture it in the voucher without any verification. You can't even prove whether the money was actually paid and when the services actually conducted.
This is a scam.
This should be a headline.
Yes.
This should be a headline in any.
How do you pay capitation through cash?
Imagine, and you can imagine where.
I mean, there's no way of tracking it.
How do you even track it? Because most of that money goes into buying books and I think a few other items that go into schools, and so that is a big expenditure. You can then imagine what the cartels that supply to those schools, how they've operated. This was basically free money because you can overquote a book and no one can actually account whether it was paid for it or not. And this is a formal report and not a rumor by Gaira or Pastor David or any Kenyan.
This is Auditor General.
Auditor General giving a report.
Yes.
And it's because Kenyans think that it's the duty of just certain specific people to audit this government and not themselves that their taxes they are paying. The reason why we are complaining about taxes is because this government just don't fund themselves. They are funded by ourselves. They are funded through VAT, pay as you want, excess duty, and all these other taxes that we are going to have, including us who are running small businesses. We also have the annual tax that we are paying, the turnover tax. So whether or not I make a loss trade in my small business,
you still have to
give
pay
something to government. And so how that money is spent should be a primary my business. I need to find out how that happens. So I hope the opposition in particular, because I've always told you that this opposition has been asleep. The opposition hasn't quite done its job very well, and largely because we are entertaining characters that are not very important to who haven't proven themselves in terms of public audit. Now that Honorable Raila Odinga is moving away, I wonder who will be able to have the balls to be able to be picking these issues. But I hope within ODM and many other 80 other political parties, because the register of the register of political party tells us that Kenya has at least 83 registered political parties, and all these are Kenyans that have a duty and a political platform to be able to query such issues. Kenyans must now pick up their personal mandate of auditing their governments and hold any leader into account, including this president.
And now that you mentioned, we keep on going in and out of that particular aspect. The opposition now, we are talking about Kalonzo Musyoka, Eugene Wamalwa, Mwangi wa Iria. You know, some of these are the guys who are presenting themselves. Martha Karua kind of took herself out of this package.
Yes.
So these are the people that we are talking about who are likely, they're actually right now jostling and fighting each other to establish, now that Raila is, they almost see Raila out of the picture.
Yes.
They are fighting to take over the official opposition. But do we have hope in these gentlemen taking into consideration their precedents?
Let me tell you. And you have done a very good analysis. Have you seen people actually come? Do you remember this man who came actually when Raila actually went out of the country for several months?
Yes.
And then he was coming back to Kenya. You remember this gentleman, he said, Baba, while you are away.
Yeah, while you are away.
Yeah. So many things happened when you are away. You know, he did not carry the opposition people.
Yes.
He left them here.
Yes.
But while he was away, so many things did not go right. Many people did not actually start to speak out. And it is actually a tragedy. These guys, may God actually raise someone who will start for this country, because these people, like the people you have mentioned about, likes of Mwangi wa Iria, they are not consistent at all. Mwangi wa Iria is a good friend of mine. I've worked with him for quite some time, so he's a man I know.
I also have a history with
yes.
him.
And I can tell you, these are not people who are consistent. In fact, like now, people are asking, where is Mwangi wa Iria? Because he disappeared. He disappeared. Why is he disappearing?
Yes.
All of us, we know. We don't want to say it on air right now.
Yes.
But there are so many baggages they are dealing with, such that sometimes you speak a word and you are told, you want to maintain your stand.
It
is either you keep quiet.
You don't throw stones when you're living in a glass house.
So there are so very few readers who are actually can start. I can tell you, some of the things that the government, if it uses the force, some of the people who can start, it is only Raila actually who has been studying. And saying, kill me if you want to kill me.
Yes.
Not very
and
many
knowing very well that can't happen.
It can't.
Now, somebody, you see, when I look at Eugene Wamalwa, I look like at Kalonzo Musyoka, I look at Mwangi wa Iria, I would even rather have Edwin Sifuna. Because these gentlemen, their history combined does not inspire anything.
An oversight lead.
Yes, it does not inspire at all. I would rather Edwin Sifuna, because at least we have seen him standing for something.
Consistently.
Yeah, when he stands, you almost know what he's going to do and say.
Correct.
But this gentleman here,
you know,
let
me tell you, these gentlemen have actually a history, and their history, and they need to get out from this history. Let me ask you, which name has Kalonzo Musyoka settled on? Watermelon.
Yes.
In fact, now he goes and he says, many of you call me this until I am actually a watermelon. You know, the thing is, the problem they have is that what is a watermelon? You don't know the color of this. It's green, red, it is green, it is what? And you see, if you don't have a start, sometimes it is very difficult for people to be trusted. And I think that is what the government is looking for. Because there are times that people used to start. You remember Orengo?
Yes.
It is actually that he has gone, he has gone to manage his county.
Yes. Yeah.
These are guys who used to be there when Orengo spoke, when Leila Odiga spoke. Yeah. You see, like now, yesterday Kalonzo was there actually speaking about the budget statement. But I can tell you, it is going to die a natural death.
Yes.
It is because he doesn't have that consistent, and people also are not trusting what he is saying.
Yes.
Because he knows today, you can actually be here. You remember there is a time they were fighting. And Kalonzo goes during the, I don't want to say during what time, but there is a time he said, I will be with Uhuru.
Yes.
For life.
Yeah.
You know, that is the time they were fighting with Uhuru, but he gets to a point and he says, I am going to be with Uhuru. He is a guy actually who can shift base so fast. And I can tell you, that's why right now, if you look at the team that is there, and that's why you are saying Martha Karua, you know, she is a hard one.
Yeah, I'd rather Edwin Sifuna or Martha Karua.
Yeah, people that can stand for something.
Yeah, at least, whether I voted for her or not, I know Martha Karua stands for something. And right or wrong, she stands for something.
She was the only cabinet minister who actually resigned from her office.
Yes,
said,
during Kibaki's reign.
President is doing. She could have remained behind, eat the salaries and and go away. You know, she's indicated that she's somebody who can stand for something. Fred, I wanted to say that for you to be a leader, you must believe in something.
Yes.
And for you to have followers, they must believe in what you believe in.
Let me now, a very good statement. For you to be a leader, you must believe in something.
Yes.
And your supporters must
believe in what you believe in.
Now, when you look at Eugene Wamalwa,
yes,
he comes from your neighbor.
Yeah.
What does he stand for? when you say Messi, everybody knows it's football. When you say Tyson, everybody knows it's boxing.
Yes.
When you say Eugene Wamalwa, what does it stand for?
You know, Pastor David mentioned James Orengo.
Yes.
James Orengo was first elected.
No, don't move ahead.
I'm heading there.
This gentleman is from your area.
I'm giving a context. Not even just an area. He's my MP.
He's your MP.
He's why he was my MP.
So tell us about him.
Yes. What does he stand for? What does this stand for?
You know, in life, I said, I was beginning to explain my context. Now, it's good that you've given me an anecdote, then I can use it as an example.
Yes.
I was telling you that for you to be a leader, you must believe in something.
Yes.
And for you to have real followers, you must people that believe in what you believe in. That's why you have a terrorist organization like Al-Shabaab, which is unfortunate to have such an institution in the world. But there are people who believe in it because the leaders of that institution believe in something.
Yes.
And that's why you saw, and the whole world saw here at the incident at Westgate, in broad daylight, when the sun is very bright, a guy walks in, kills people, and then prays. You saw that?
Yes.
It's because he believes in something. So leaders like Kalonzo and Eugene Wamalwa, as they're using as an example, haven't shown throughout their careers, long and little career.
And Mwangi wa Iria.
And Mwangi wa Iria, because, listen, because Honorable Kalonzo came into parliament in 1986 through a by-election.
Yes.
A very young man, just about 30 years. He was elected for the next 27 years, up to 2013, a very long time. He's been everything you can be except president.
Yes.
Everything.
He's basically, the only thing he's missed is the presidency.
And for a very long time.
Yes.
He's a guy who's never, since 1986, he's never lacked armed security at his gate.
Yes.
You can imagine such a life. So he hasn't quite tasted what it is like to be an opposition leader and to oppose a system. Because opposing a system can come with very serious consequences, including going into jail for 9 years like Raila Odinga. Fred, I sometimes see people arrested for trespassing or for spitting in town.
Yes.
You know, a misdemeanor. And then he's taken in for a weekend. And when he exits, they take him to church for a full prayer. You can imagine what it means going in for 9 years.
Yes.
It's quite something. So those are people who have been tested and proven that they can stand for something. And Eugene Wamalwa and Kalonzo Musyoka haven't quite shown that in their careers. Even Eugene Wamalwa now has been in cabinet for almost 15 years.
Yes.
You know, he was one of the last ministers of President Mwai Kibaki.
Yes.
And he's been throughout.
Was also even in Uhuru Kenyatta's
cabinet.
Yes.
A very long term, now we can confidently say, a long term serving cabinet secretary. He hasn't been in the opposition trenches since he first came in on the side.
But we don't know We basically don't know what they stand
So
for.
that's what I'm telling you, they haven't quite been tested in opposition politics and have nothing to show for it.
Yes.
And that's what I was telling you, I'm happy that you mentioned Sifuna. Maybe me and Pastor David can rejoice by saying
I can tell you that these guys, they need to up their game.
Yes.
Because if they go the way they are going, they are actually telling this government to go back at ease without a lot of pressure. And you know why I'm saying this? And it is not a good example I'm going to give you, but it is only resilience. I am talking about resilience and consistency. And actually people stand for what they know. You remember this, but there is a time there was a lot of issues about the Raila Omolo Odinga. You remember when they went with at the Uhuru Park?
Yes.
Where he was sworn in as the people's president. All the other people that you are talking about, where were they? See, they disappeared. It is the only man who went alone
and took the oath.
and took the oath
On live international TV.
Yes. That's why I'm telling you, these guys, they need actually to up their game and to make their followers to believe in them.
But is it at the end, what can Kalonzo do now? He's not a young man.
He's not.
What can he do now to have people change their perception towards him? Is there anything he can do really?
It's too late.
I'm telling you, and that's why we are saying it is unfortunate, and that's why we are praying. You see the kind of the people you have talked about, the Sifuna.
Yes.
These are the guys who are likely to be able to make their followers to believe in them. Because you see, like now the Sifuna, when he goes and he says something, he will not back down. He stands by it.
He stands by it.
Right now, I can tell you, Kalonzo is actually someone who is not known about any stud. And it is a bad character. It is a bad leadership skill in terms of if you are not known to stand, or like the way George is saying, to stand on anything. That today you are here, tomorrow you are there, you can actually go behind the back and actually do something which is totally against what you are saying. So right now we are saying maybe there is hope. Let's not say that it can't happen.
Hope in this thing?
Not just
But I can tell you, it is a very difficult thing.
Fred,
yes.
When the late Jaramogi Odinga was becoming old towards the 1992 election, he was an old man.
Yes.
And there were fears that, you know, what happens then after the doyen of politics exits the stage. By that time, the likes of Orengo and the seven-bearded brothers were young men in their 30s and 40s. Late 30s and early 40s, which is why most of these folks, particularly besides the likes of Kalonzo and Eugene, were in their 50s and 60s.
Yes.
There's a bunch of young men, the likes of Olekina and Sifuna, as you're mentioning. They're in their 40s and in their 40s around that year. So the worry was that then who was going to take over
the reins
of power? But you know, they were saying nature abhors vacuum.
Yes.
When the old man took off, there are those ones who were there, and so they were able to sort of come in and fill in the gaps. We do have some very vibrant young politicians in opposition.
Yes.
They just need to be given the platform, particularly for those in opposition, and they must understand the way President William Ruto came up. You don't need an invitation to make a profit, friend. You must desire yourself to make a profit and show up.
Yes.
So we do have young leaders that have shown, and I hope, particularly for a party like ODM, because I truly understand it, is that there's a bunch of young men across the region. A young lady from Mombasa, Amina Mnyazi, a very vibrant and tough young lady, and she's proven herself. So these parties that are in opposition need to create that room and be able to create a platform for these particular leaders. They will be the leaders of the years to come. But
this years to come, this years to come thing,
it can be next year.
Actually,
next year.
No, it's true what he is saying.
Yes.
By the way, if you look at it, Fred, what George is saying actually has a lot of weight. You know, the things are changing.
Yes.
Why is there that in Mount Kenya there is a fight between the
Nyoro.
DP and Didi Nyoro?
A 38-year-old.
Yes. Do you know what is happening? It is telling you that the next government is not going to be the very government that we are looking at. And actually this is happening in the opposition and also in this government. There is a shift and the ground keep on shifting. And I can tell you, like Mount Kenya, people are only, it is the president who is trying to calm people.
Yes.
But there is a shift. In terms of what people believe in, they are not actually believing And that is the same problem we have with the DP right now.
Yes.
The Mount Kenya are not believing in him because they are wondering, what does he stand for? Actually, there is nothing much that actually the Mount Kenya are saying this guy stands for. And that is where we have a problem. And I can tell you, by the time we are going to 2026, the ground will have shifted in a very big way. You will start seeing people emerging.
Yes. Also from the national politics. The Kiwanja becomes wide open.
Yes.
There would be new
once he's out of the picture.
Yeah.
January is a turning point because once, I think the election is towards the end of the year,
Yes.
but he assumes office in January. Once he's sworn in as the AU chair, then here, things change.
The crowd will be open.
Yes. the people who've projected themselves as the doyens, forget Raila Odinga. Once Raila Odinga is out of the picture, some of the people who've projected themselves as the leader of opposition and hoping to take over the opposition will probably be swept off their feet by the young people who are...
Fred, I can tell you this. A platform like the leading opposition party is ODM, by virtue of its numbers and history and the number of people that it has. This is a party then that has structures in across the country. I think the only region that, when you look at the history of ODM in the last 15 years, the only place that it has never won an elected seat is only in 5 counties, and that is in central Kenya alone, just the 5 counties of central Kenya, because ODM has won seats in Meru, MPs and MCS, so it's just the only region. So it has a platform that in countries like South Africa, the ANC and the CCM enjoys, where you just need to say a candidate and you almost have half of the people ready.
Yes.
Anybody that is proposed by ODM as its candidate, say Oparanya or Joho, and say this is our candidate, there's almost half of the country of people, they probably will not question. They just say, no, when do we start the campaign? It gives you a head start. One of the reasons why CCM and the ANC have been able to be deep-rooted is because of the structure of the party, Fred. Once a candidate is handed the party ticket, like Magufuli, you are the candidate of CCM.
Yes.
Everybody across the country has his logo.
Yes.
And like when say you want to run independently, we would have to begin to say, who do we have in Mandela? Who do we have? So such a party gives you a head start.
Yes.
So it means then you just need the party to create a platform for the new players, which I believe they will, and the young people that have shown that. So on a platform like that one, it's very easy to come up with a strong candidate. I tell you this, anybody that ODM proposes will always have a head start against Kalonzo, who can only marshal 3 counties automatically.
Correct.
Remember the other 6 regions. How can you go to Homa Bay and say that we are now selling wiper? Or come to my home county of Kakamega and come and say, you know, there, Fred, with the way you saw how we are aligned there, the difference between Oyugi or Oyuka and Ondieki of Kisii is very minimal. And ODM starts with O. Before that person begins to change his mind and say, oh, wiper, it's impossible. You need to invest more. So it's very difficult, you understand? So the parties like that, because they have that structure, they're able to gain traction very quickly. So we can't rule out what Pastor David is saying, that 3 years is a long time. Once Raila Odinga is confirmed that he's out of the scene, he will not believe what happens next. And if the characters like Eugene and Kalonzo do not sit pretty quickly, in 2 years' time, would be having other favorites, and they might not be the ones.
Just 1 minute.
Yes.
Let me ask a question. ODM right now, in the Azimio, is actually the largest.
Yes.
Right now, they are on the ground. What are they trying to do? Is actually to strengthen the party. To strengthen the party for Wiper.
And they've been just an addition. In the last 3 months, they've been to 18 counties. In the last 3 months, 79-year-old Raila Odinga has been to 18 counties. Kalonzo hasn't left much. And then you want him to go to 30, 40 counties. Then hand it over. You can become president. You know that's an impossibility.
So that's why we are telling only things are changing. Wait for it.
Well, with that, we got to bring down the curtains on this show. Definitely what has been said are things you're going to see playing out. The politics is going to play out. We're going to see what happens with Raila Odinga. And I do pray that, you know, he becomes the African Union chairman. I think he has put sweat and blood into this thing, and probably towards this end, I think he really deserves it. At least we know what he stands for. And then with that, we also need to pray as a country and also play our role after praying to push this government to ensure that, some of the proposals that they're making in here, we push our members of parliament so that they will not be bought to vote in this. This needs to change, because I know of people whose families have broken right now as I speak, have broken because they are unable to provide for their own family. So because of that, tension has come into the family, and the husband and wife are no longer seeing eye to eye, and they've parted ways. So the impact it's having on families is humongous, not just the pockets, but the family setup, because you can't provide for your family. After a while, you start having friction with your partner, and before long, you're now not seeing eye to eye. So when we pray for this country, and as far as this is concerned, we've got to remember there are families that are suffering, there are families that are breaking away as a result of the stress that the financial issue is having on them. So we have a responsibility to pray for this country so that right decisions and right judgments are passed in as far as everything that concerns us is put on the table. And with that, we got to bring down the curtains on the show. Thank you very much, gentlemen, George and David.
Thank you.
I've seen quite a number of people have sent their messages. Unfortunately, because of time, I will not be able to read some of them. I've seen the likes of Kate. If I start, I will end up reading the whole thing. So thank you very much for participating in the show. God bless you.
Thank you.